Okay, we're going to take a quick look here at how the world, or at least North America here, has really flip-flopped their mentality here just in the last 5 to 10 years. A good example of that is the way blacks report on TV things, and in fact, how everyone eventually is reported on TV things and turning stuff. You know, Don Lemon here is the one that recently said that white men were actually the problem in America, but just 5 years ago he seems to have had a slightly different look on things. Let's take a look at this.
Something I've had in my mind for quite some time now. So much so that I felt compelled to bring back our segment where we hold politicians, leaders, and pundits accountable for what comes out of their mouths. It's time now, again, for No Talking Points.
Now, this is a segment that he used to run every once in a while where he would drop the political idea and go for current things, and he called it No Talking Points, but of course there always was a talking point, but hey, you get the idea.
The Trayvon Martin murder case got just about everybody talking about race, and not just specifically how it related to the case. It got some, many on the political right, wondering why the so-called liberal media wasn't talking about other problems in the black community.
And there's definitely a problem in the black community, but no one wants to address it. They want to overlook it, or they want to make excuses. Now, he's going to give us, I think it's top 5, but it needs to be a top 7, actually, because he needs to add a couple things to his list. I'll get to those shortly, but
let's talk about race. Let's talk about black-on-black violence.
The outrage that I have is in the lack of really the national attention to what is an epidemic of crime in the black community, committed largely by blacks.
Why aren't we talking about it? Good question. Actually, that's not a good question. We've talked about it many times on this show and on CNN. It's actually a good deflection, as I've said a number of times to a number of guests here on CNN and also on the radio.
And it is a deflection point that people utilize a lot of times, and it's gotten to where black people will even use it for a deflection point. It's odd that you would have somebody that is a small percentage of the American population, like 12.8% of the population, yet, well, black males would only be like 5.5%, 6% of the population. They're less than the females, due to the fact they kill each other quite a bit. But the growing problem seems to be that they use it for a crutch point rather than even saying that it is a problem at all. It's almost like accepted, which is oddly disgusting. Almost like they're just going to take that under their wing and continue, and then try to talk crap about other people and their problems while never looking in the mirror.
David, do not do that false equivalent. That is
no, I'm not trying to
fair
equivocate,
comparison.
but outrage.
Yeah, but listen, crime happens all the time, and because a crime happens, it does not mean that you should shift the focus from what happened here. Let's stick to this particular point.
Okay,
so you can see even Don used to not try to mend these together. Whenever things like this would happen, he'd say, let's not turn this into a big hullabaloo here. And if you look now, that's all everyone ever tries to do. It was like the big OJ trial, and it got a lot of attention, and so they're going to try to puff every damn thing like a piece of popcorn. You see what I'm saying?
On this issue,
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's the reason I didn't want to discuss at length crime in the African American community, or how to fix other ills that seem to be plaguing the community in general. But now that the jury has reached its verdict, one that everyone must accept, it's time now for some tough love on the subject.
Well, they didn't accept it. And in fact, there was a bunch of riots and looting and all kinds of things. Blacks felt they got no justice whenever it easily was shown that it's a black problem. And this crying wolf has gotten sadly disgusting, where so many times now there's videos over and over again of black people saying that they are actually being racistly profiled by cops and everything, and the cops all have a great day and da-da-da and get your tail light fixed, you bet, thank you ma'am, and they go, then they start a video right when they drive off and they go, oh my god, that man was so racist and all these things. It's disgusting. I'll make a video on it if you want me to, but I really don't want to. It shouldn't even have to happen, but it's just all these sad things and these finger pointing and these never taking on any responsibility that's really causing a large portion of the problem here over time. That and the identity crisis of trying to say that, oh, they're Egyptians and we were Hebrews. You have these guys standing around in street corners now telling you that they were the people of the Bible instead of the Jewish slave masters that brought them over here on boats. It's just, it just blows one's mind how deluded people can get over time and how disgusting it is that, and what they say, and they get all puffed up mad about it like crap's going to happen, and then they start mentioning things out of the Bible and think that white people are going to go into slavery for what they did, and white people are the ones that actually freed them from the Jewish slavery, but black people don't figure it. It's just, it's disgusting. Let's continue.
One on another network got the chance to go first because I couldn't go during the week. I'm only here on the weekend, so listen to this.
Oh, he's going to side with Bill Riley.
The reason there is so much violence and chaos in the black precincts is the disintegration of the African American family.
He's got a point.
Yeah, he does have a point. 73% of black households are unwed mothers, and most of them rely on the government and welfare and things. It costs us over $1 trillion a year, an extreme amount of the debt that we have. It's not so much in foreign country debt. If we didn't have this debt pinching us, then we wouldn't have foreign debt. Do you see how that works? It's amazing, but and I can't believe it, but you remember Bill O'Reilly? He's gone now. He was just too wah. But then it's funny how he used to be the same. Everyone used to be definitely not falling off the ship to the left-hand side up in the cheap seats.
In fact, he's got more than a point. Bill?
Oh.
Raised without much structure, young black men often reject education and gravitate towards the street culture, drugs, hustling, gangs. Nobody forces them to do that. Again, it is a personal decision.
He is right about that too. But in my estimation, he doesn't go far enough.
Wow. Now this is Don Lemon, the one that just said the problem in America were people that were like Bill O'Reilly, the white male. But we don't go far enough. I find that odd. In such a short amount of time you can see the flip-flop. But quite often when people get on my videos and start telling you they were Egyptians and so on, they have to flip-flop to keep up with their lies too. But I don't think he's lying at this point. I think he's lying now. You can tell that due to the fact that he did a whole lot of changing from what he says now to from what he used to say just 5 years ago here, that now instead of just being a guy that had a bit part on the weekends, gets to be all over the TV, pushing a separate agenda by people that want him to say things like that. They love dissension and getting attention on the news.
Because black people, if you really want to fix the problem, here's just 5 things that you should think about doing. Here's number 5. And if this doesn't apply to you, if you're not doing this, then it doesn't apply to you. I'm not talking about you. Here's number 5. Pull up your pants. Some people, a lot of them black, gave me flack for saying that recently on the Wendy Williams show. If you're sagging, it means I think it's your self-esteem is sagging and who you are as a person. It's sagging. Young people need to be taught respect, and there are rules. Sagging pants, whether it's Justin Bieber or no-name Derek around the way, walking around with your ass and your underwear showing is not okay. In fact...
Well, it's just kind of disgusting. I mean, there was a time whenever we were all, Puritan, Victorian people, and they were all, ooh, and you couldn't even say a colorful word without women acting like they were going to faint. I mean, it did get to that point, and we realized we've gotten way past that point. In fact, really the hippie era seemed, the 50s and then the 60s seemed to pull us out of that just a little bit more and get us to where we were a little more down to earth again and riding correct. And it seems like that really caused mankind to take off too, and it all gelled right there. And I think the hippie culture had a lot to do with that. It was all like, somebody finally said, hey, chill out, man, just make it happen. And they were like, what? Oh, wow, that sounds great. But in that effect, I mean, people used to dress, black people used to dress like pimps and so on. Of course, it looked like some kind of stupid rooster suit, but at least it had style and it had flair to it. This is not style and flair. This is, I had to wear my big brother's hand-me-downs and my ass is hanging out and I can't have a belt. It's not good. It doesn't look correct. It doesn't look healthy. It doesn't look right at all. And it's become a sad thing, a weird gesture. But he'll tell you more about this gesture. Now imagine this is before he came out as being gay.
It comes from prison when they take away belts from the prisoner so that they can't make a weapon. And then it evolved into which role a prisoner would have during male-on-male prison sex. The one with the really low pants is a submissive one. You get my point? No.
Do you get his point? It's amazing that he is saying something like that, knowing now what we know now, that he has a white boyfriend and he's the submissive one of those two. He's telling you how this works. And rather than condoning it or saying you shouldn't be against it or all this, SJW BS that goes on nowadays, he's telling you that's a bad thing in numbers. It's just not a good thing. It's something that comes from prison. So if you want to go around acting like a prisoner, a gay female version prisoner, then that's what you're embracing whenever you do it. It's kind of disgusting. I think it's starting to wane here in America a little bit. But you anytime they chimp out like crazy, you see videos and stuff, and of course the rap culture, you're going to see it. Definitely.
Number 4 now is the N-word.
Oh, no.
For our generation, what we did was we took the word and we took the power out of that word.
No, you didn't. You tried to empower yourself with that word, saying no one else could say it. That's kind of disgusting flip-flop on even the concept of what you would say. You didn't take the power out of the word. The word never had any power in the first place. The word nigger is just Niger, but a slang. It's up north, they would say Niger. The Niger people, wa-da-da-da. Down south, they would say them nigger people, wa-da-da-da. What does Niger mean? It meant black or dark. They named a lot of rivers the Niger River, and it doesn't mean that. Nigeria has black people in it, but that doesn't mean, oh my God, it's niggeria. No, it's not. And it's just the way somebody said something. And of course, oh, the South is so bad. Well, it's the slang they use. Look at the slang you use and you condone it. And you use the word throwing it around like crazy. Back in the day, whenever there was slavery and even past that, it was literally, instead of saying black man, Indian instead of Indian is, oh, that's just so disgusting. Well, no, it's actually almost kind of like saying bro or something. You just got a slang to it. But then everybody has to get butthurt about bullshit. And it doesn't really matter. I mean, I've had these guys in my videos call me cracker, whitey, cave albino, Neanderthal beast bullshit. And it really is, it's just farcical blah. It's just a bunch of wind.
This word, and we made it into poetry.
No.
I understand.
No. That's not... You made it into poetry. Now, you use it more often than not in a derogatory way or a way that holds you down. Every time you say it, you're throwing a fish hook in your own people and pulling them down. And I believe strongly that you understand and know this, but you're trying to do it. Mentally, you're trying to do it. Listen,
Stand poetic license, but consider this. I hosted a special on the N-word, suggesting that black people stop using it, and that entertainers stop deluding yourselves or themselves and others that you're somehow taking the word back. By promoting the use of that word when it's not germane to the conversation, have you ever considered that you may just be perpetuating the stereotype the master intended, acting like a nigger? A lot of African Americans took offense to that too, and I want...
Yeah, it's amazing. And of course, people that like to use the word would turn around and tell you what they're using the word for. People use cuss words, and it's just an adjective. Well, that's all I'm using it for, so don't be saying that, Don Lemon. Oh yeah, well that's what white people were using it for too. Instead of saying, hey tan guy, hey pale guy, hey Negro, grr. It doesn't, oh well it's the on the end. If you say nigga, it's fine. Who made up that stupid shit? Is that somebody? Well, blacks quite often don't finish the word. They don't say quarter, they say quarter. They really don't throw it in there. It's almost like, well, in Georgia, people just talk like that. It's their accent that they have when they talk like that. And they just say, I have a quarter or something. So they don't even finish the last, they don't on the end of a quarter. And they don't on the end of Niger. And so you're going to even make that worse because, of course, Georgia had to be part of that stuff. The South.
I wondered if I gave the right advice. I really did. But confirmation came the very next day on my way home when I exited the subway on 125th Street in Harlem. This little kid in a school uniform, no older than 7 years old, he was crying his eyes out as he walked down the sidewalk with his mother. I'm going to be honest here. She turned to him and she said, "I'm sick of you. You act like an old-ass man. Stop all that crying, nigger." Is that taking the word back? Think about that. Now,
No, that's not taking a word back in any way, shape, or form. Now is it? Now imagine this is Don Lemon. Look, this is not a robot. Nobody's faked his face or anything. You know what he's like now, and this is merely 5 years later, short of 5 years later.
number 3, respect where you live. Start small by not dropping trash, littering in your own communities. I've lived in several predominantly white neighborhoods in my life. I rarely, if ever, witness people littering. I live in Harlem now. It's an historically black neighborhood. Every single day I see adults and children dropping their trash on the ground when a garbage can is just feet away. Just being honest here.
Being honest about it. Yeah, it's black. As soon as you go into the black neighborhood, there's just more trash everywhere. People just throw it out. They don't care. And it's right there. And they're not doing it to them. They're doing it to the neighbor and the neighborhood and everything. And it's all just like, wow, filth. I don't give a damn. And problem is that America gives a damn. And you can't be acting like that in America. All these things are getting old. We've turned around and said, oh, you have all these equal rights. Now start acting equal. And now we're at that point and we're still kind of looking at you like, well...
Number 2, finish school. You want to break the cycle of poverty? Stop telling kids they're acting white because they go to school or they speak proper English.
Terribly, black people alienate anybody with intelligence if you start getting good grades in school. Literally, I can show you videos where people tell you that if you start getting good grades in school, they will alienate you if you do not speak ebonically. If you start using the wrong right tenses for words, he do, she dat, he dee, we boo. If you don't start talking like that, they're going to alienate you. They're going to say you're acting white, whenever all you're trying to do is probably utilize your intelligence that you were given. It's disgusting. It's almost like there's a fish hook in you. Anybody who excels, fish hook. You see that?
High school dropout makes on average $19,000 a year. A high school graduate makes $28,000 a year. A college graduate makes $51,000 a year. Over the course of a career, a college grad will make nearly $1 million more than a high school graduate. That's
a lot of money. That's a lot of money difference right there. The problem is that we even have affirmative action where we go ahead and pass blacks through high school and everything, and it still doesn't make too much of a difference. It's already been proven. We give them college entrance buffs to go in. We actually deficit white people and Chinese people, even, or Asians, even worse, towards blacks, trying to get any of them into college to see if we can get any of them to pull up. And how many college dropouts are there in blacks? And how many people go to hair school and learn how to put weaves and fake Caucasian hair hats in their hair?
A lot of money. And number one, and probably the most important, just because you can have a baby, it doesn't mean you should, especially without planning for one or getting married first. More than 72% of children in the African American community are born out of wedlock. That means absent fathers. And the studies show that lack of a male role model is an express train right to prison.
He's not kidding. And again, I have to tell you, this is Don Lemon, not somebody with a mask on. They haven't CGI'd this in any way. This is reality. This was actually 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago. That short amount of time. And now they've turned everything around to where it's whitey cracker magic is the problem. And it couldn't be blacks anymore. And everybody's picking on blacks for the crime. And they're not trying to fix the crime. They're not trying to fix, it starts at pants. It starts at a whole lot of things. It starts at quit lying. Hey, I understand that you were recently domesticated from a primitive, illiterate people just 4 or 5 generations ago at most. And you're doing fantastic, actually, in some aspects. But then all the other of it is ruining everything. It's a constant deluge of... and it's perhaps that you're just overwhelmed with it's too much of a change, and that can be understandable too. But then why are you forced into this position? I mean, Lincoln and them wanted all the black people to go back to Liberia and set it up and everything, and that became some nightmare massacre type bullshit. And it's really starting to look like it has to be a late option here or something that doesn't and shouldn't have to come into play. But it doesn't have to come into play, and none of this is because of the Caucasians that started this great nation that said we are the people. We are the people never included all of this problem. It never included the immigration that's going on now, things like that. Listen, I don't do political, and I don't do current videos. I do stuff from 2,000 years ago and more. Generally, I try not to even mess with dark ages and past up. Sometimes I find things I don't want to know about almost to that point, but when it gets far enough ancient for me, I can diss myself from it. This keeps getting thrown in my face by people that are getting on my videos and stuff, and I feel like I have to make a comment towards this type of thing. And then also I've been challenged by some of these idiots on my videos, and so this becomes a rebuttal pretty much to that. It's like, you're just ignoring your own problem and trying to put things off on Whitey again. Whitey didn't enslave you. That was Jewish slave masters. We definitely have that fact proven and locked up. Now, only 1.6% of white people in America owned slaves, even at the height of slavery, and most of those were Jewish. And so it's really not too much of a problem. But I do remember in effect that it was Whitey Cracker Devil that also went to war, fought and died, got maimed, and the horrors of the Civil War to free your people, and actually all people from slavery. I mean, there were more Irish slaves than there were black slaves. And we don't need to get into all of that. But, and of course it was blacks on blacks capturing each other and then selling each other off to those Jewish slave masters in mass that enabled it also in the first place. And that was going on for 900 years before that from Islam. We don't need to go there again, do we? Or do we have to keep rewinding this and saying this openly and then going and trying to go from there and keep trying to go from there and not have to put all these, and then this happened, and then look at this. Oh, blacks are shooting, whites are shooting blacks for no reason. Really, it's no reason. And then when you come to find out, quite often there's quite a bit of reason for it. There's a reason there's a lot of cops in the black neighborhood, and it's because of the problems there. They cause more than 50% of the crime, and they're less than 7% of the base, unless you're talking about black women added in there, and it's a very small percentage we count that would be the women that are pulling this off, although lately you see a lot of these videos and women are in the middle of the scrap in these gangs trying to beat up people and stuff, stab them, do crazy things. It's gotten way, way, way out of hand, and everybody just keeps turning another cheek like, oh, those crazy Negroes.
And the cycle continues. So please, black folks, as I said, if this doesn't apply to you, I'm not talking to you. Pay attention to and think about what has been presented in recent history as acceptable behavior. Pay close attention to the hip-hop and rap culture that many of you embrace, a culture that glorifies everything I just mentioned, thug and reprehensible behavior, a culture that is making a lot of people rich, just not you, and it's not going to. That said, though, the political right is not off the hook.
If conservatives are so concerned about black-on-black crime, it's a little concerning. The only time I hear them talking about it is when they want to stick it to the black community.
And that's today's no talking points.
And you see the glare in his eye there at the second he goes, I got that out there and I'm proud of it. And I again have to tell you, that is Don Lemon. That's that same guy that just said white people were the problem in America, far right people, and that we should be banned from flights like Muslims that are terrorists. You can see this pancake flip-flop thing. But yeah, the no talking point. Perhaps should become a talking point. It all starts back at how slavery went from 7 years to lifetime whenever a black man went to court and demanded lifetime slavery, named Anthony Johnson. It all goes back to blacks capturing blacks and selling each other like a drive-through slave mart. It all goes back to a lot of things that are looked at as being lies now, and perpetuated puffing up roostering of lies and saying that you were Egyptians and that you were the people of the Bible somehow. Blacks aren't mentioned in the Bible. Neither are Asians. Don't freak out. Neither are Asians, Eskimos, or anybody. It's really just a book talking about Caucasians and a family and their 3 sons and how they broke up and supposedly became the people that ran the Middle East for a while. Has nothing to do with black people. They can get envious all you want to, but that's not reality. Like, share, and subscribe. Peace.